Hello and salam everyone, my name is Mu'tasim and I am back with more action and big design decisions on Amira. Today is more of a follow-up video on the previous one actually, where I discussed how the clothing of Amira affects her general stats and movement within the game, based on emotions that I'd imagine she feels based on the way she is dressed up. And in this video, I am going to be discussing how Amira's clothing affects the gameplay in more ways than simply the stats. Mainly her weapons, the weapons that she can use, the abilities, and how the skill tree works in the game. And generally how what she feels emotionally depending on what she wears was translated into game design decisions that actually not only affect the story but also the gameplay. At first glance, clothing is not that much of a big deal, at least from what I believe it shouldn't be. But in reality, that is a little bit different. Based on what one wears, both the person themselves feel differently and the people around them would act differently. So it was my decision to attempt and merge that into the gameplay of Amira. I discussed my first step in the previous video, link in the description, and with this video I am going to be expanding on it even more. So here are the core pointers that I ended up with in the last video. Spoiler alert, this was the results of what I found, so take it with a small grain of salt. So in short, longer dresses for the person wearing it, it pointed generally towards more safety, peace emotionally, and the feeling of being protected. So in the last video that translated into higher health and faster energy recovery for Amira at the cost of movement speeds, and that is simply because moving in longer dresses is a bit more difficult. Shorter dresses, on the other hand, was pointing more towards confidence, not letting external influences affect you, and being more comfortable and proud with yourself. For some reason, I am making quite a bit of spelling errors today. Oh well, let's keep going along actually. So yeah, these were the two main results that I have built many design decisions upon. Now of course, Amira at the end of the day, it is a fantasy game. So it's a fantasy world that has some inspirations drawn from the real world. Even if it doesn't apply in real life, it most definitely is applying for Amira. So for today, let us start with the skill tree. Basically, the skill tree in Amira is the core of the customization of the game. You start each level with 4 basic elements: a melee weapon, ranged weapon, stats, and a special ability. Now, each of these can be upgraded by spending upgrade points, or what I would like to call as spirit points. More on why I named them that way maybe in a future video, but yeah, by spending spirit points you upgrade each one of these. Now I may say upgrade, but it's not really upgrading. You're sort of just pushing each element of these 4 towards the direction of personality and mentality that Amira feels based on her dress. For example, the default special ability is a shield that protects you, simple and direct, for a small duration of time, of course. However, when Amira is wearing her long dress, this special ability can be turned into burst ability, because essentially she no longer needs that shield protection due to the longer dress giving her already a little extra HP and extra energy recovery due to the feelings of extra safety and protection that was discussed earlier. And so she now gets burst ability when she spends a spirit point on the shield ability, which basically explodes her into a burst of anger that kills all monsters around her. I like to think actually that when she takes damage, she bottles up the pain inside of her, causing her to simply burst and kill the enemies attacking her. Now, on the opposite end, the shield ability mutates into charge ability when she is wearing the shorter dress and she uses a spirit point on that ability. By principle, the shorter dress offered her extra confidence and higher movement stats, which translated to her gaining a charge ability, where she simply charges forward and kills all monsters in her way. She is not afraid, she charges forward. Now, on the second part of the customization lies the weaponry, basically her weapons. Her initial weapons are simple punching and creating magic spheres as her ranged attack. Now, while she is in her modest dress, the melee punch can be upgraded into claws that scratch, have simple movements. They are also easy to carry around in the long dress. Not much to carry on top of the long dress and heavy dress that she is already wearing, and it offers simpler movements which fit well with the decreased movement, as I mentioned. On the shorter dress, she gets a sword that has a longer attack range than the claws and fancier moves and flips that basically kill all enemies around her. Considering it's a shorter dress, offering her higher versatility when it comes to the movement, it made sense to give her a more versatile weapon that had a greater attack range. That is also, if we think about it realistically, somewhat harder to carry, basically. Now, ranged attacks are also somewhat more different. In the shorter dress, Amira can use the bow and arrow, which she uses to aim and attack, basically, while also providing some more flashy moves that are a sight to behold. Again, all of that is due to the extra confidence that she feels emotionally, and the fact that she can basically move a little bit better, so she has no problem carrying that. Ranged attacks are also somewhat more different. In the shorter dress, Amira can use a bow and arrow, which she uses to aim and attack, while also providing some flashy moves as she throws some special unique arrows, basically. All of that due to the fact that the more confidence that she is feeling, and that realistically she can move a little bit better in this sort of dress. Now, on the longer dress side of things, it's somewhat different again. When upgrading the base ranged attack, which was originally a magic sphere that she shoots, the small genie or fairy that is following her gets up and attacks automatically all of that which gets closer to Amira. It's definitely not as flashy as the arrows that she shoots, but with extra energy that she has, she can afford that genie helping her. Because after each attack from that small genie, Amira actually loses energy. Essentially, the small genie is taking Amira's energy away and attacking automatically. Now, she has higher energy recovery and higher health recovery in the long dress, so she can afford that. And finally, the stats, they are, as mentioned previously, longer dress means extra health stats, so upgrading the stat simply gives her even more health. And the shorter dress means higher movement speed. So, again, upgrading the stat will give her even more speed. Now, all of the above is in fact implemented, but I have an idea that crossed my mind recently, that is the head cover. Amira's head cover is already a different piece than the dress itself and can be controlled manually. So, you can have the longer dress without the head cover, and you can have the shorter dress with the head cover. Now, the head cover is more of a bigger signature, looking both around me and in countries far away. The head cover seems to make the biggest difference when it comes to the treatment of others, where other people would treat you extremely differently based on whether you're wearing the head cover or you aren't. Example, if you are a woman in some countries, the community might actually take away some of your rights as a human being for simply wearing the head cover. And in some areas, the opposite would happen. The community would treat you so rudely and shun you around for not wearing the head cover. Now, I won't name any countries, of course, but that should be easy to find, basically. Both cases are injustice and they shouldn't happen, but that's the reality of the world. Now, where I am getting at with this, I am starting to feel basically the biggest difference, as I mentioned, is with the head cover, especially with more Middle Eastern women wearing clothes that are somewhat closer to the Western clothes. So I am also considering translating this into gameplay by some way or another. Maybe making the monsters deal more damage or be stronger or have more health if Amira is wearing the head cover. And I'd also do the opposite, where some other monsters would also get stronger if Amira is not wearing the head cover. This is still an idea that only crossed my mind. I haven't even started working on implementing it. So please do tell me in the comments below, what do you think of this idea? Is it worth it? Do you feel it might add some difference to the feeling of the gameplay of the game? And also visually, how do you feel it would be a good idea to express it? How do you feel it would be a good idea to express it on which monsters get stronger based on the head cover, and which monsters get stronger if she isn't wearing the head cover? The visual representation on the monsters is something that I am trying to figure out, actually. So any ideas are more than welcome. Please do leave them in the comments below. Oh, and by the way, Amira's Steam page is actually already up and running. So, if you like what you see, do not hesitate to follow the link. It is in the description, and add it to your wishlist. It will make both me and Amira happy. And lastly, please do take everything I said with a grain of salt. It is based on my experiences and information alone. With that in mind, I'd like to say that the game is still in development. So, if you see massive errors in my ways, things that I got so wrong, things that I could do better, or any ideas that come across to your mind, do not hesitate to leave them on the comments. So yeah, that is all for today, and I'll keep working hard on Amira. But for now, bye and salam.